I, male 23, was abandoned by my mom, L, female 50, 4 years ago after it came to light that she was pregnant with another man's baby. My father, X, male 52, was distraught and immediately divorced her, and she left without a single shred of remorse to start a new life with her new husband across the country. She now has two kids, technically my step siblings, but I am basically no contact with her and don't know jack about them. My father spiraled deeply after the divorce and was never the same and passed away a few months ago due to a tragic accident. It has been deeply tragic for me and my remaining family, most importantly, my grandma and uncle. We are dealing with this loss together and trying to keep it together as things move forward. At the same time, I am blessed to have a loving and supportive partner, G, female 24, who has been my rock through all of this. She helped with the funeral, got me out of bed in the mornings, and helped me talk out all the memories I had with my father. The funeral happened yesterday, and my final goodbye to my dad was sullied by the presence of my mom, although it's my fault for allowing her to come. It all started with a phone call the day after my father died. My mom called me and gave her condolences. She asked whether she could come to Dad's funeral, claiming that despite their distance, they had been married for years. I was hesitant at first since I didn't really want to have her company there, but I know my father was not the kind of man who would ban someone, anyone, from coming to his funeral. Besides, I didn't think I'd have much interaction with my mom anyways. If she wanted to come to pay her respects, that was fine by me, but nothing more. I told her as much, and she agreed to not push for a relationship with me. So on the day of the funeral, Mom shows up with her two kids in tow. This was already more than I had bargained for, and I didn't see the need to bring kids who had no relation to my father and were the spawn of the dude she had cheated on him with to the funeral. I walked up to her and asked what she meant by bringing her kids here, and she replied, "I'll tell you soon, OP. Let's just pay our respects first." Gritting my teeth, I went through the rest of the ceremony. It was honestly quite beautiful, and everyone shared their best memories with Dad, and we all had a lot of fun remembering him for who he was. Tears were shed, and everyone felt closer to him. Thankfully, my mom didn't pull anything stupid like attempting to deliver a speech. Everyone there knew how badly she had hurt Dad. If she started getting all poetic about what their relationship meant to her or something like that, chances were that she'd be kicked out of the funeral. After everything was over and people were dispersing, my mom came up to me and began to catch up. I got to know the real reason for her visit. "Well, things have been a little tight for me and my husband recently, and I remembered that your father had left me a significant portion of money in his will. It was something we had discussed when you were born, and I don't think he'd changed the will after that. I want to be present when your father's lawyer discloses the will and makes sure I get a share." I was livid and kicked her out of the funeral with the help of my uncle and my grandpa. Dad was barely under the ground, and this woman wanted to peck away at his money. I hadn't even found the time to figure out how Dad's estate was going to be given out, and she'd apparently been plotting it for ages. After I got back from the funeral, I got a long-winded email from Mom talking about putting the past behind us and how it would be not for her best interest, but for my two innocent kids, like for their college, yada, yada, yada. I wasn't going to fall for this emotional manipulation, and all it did was make me angrier. She was completely okay dropping me like a stone, but she wanted me to feel something for her brats? Nuh-uh. Unfortunately, I didn't really know much about Dad's will, if he'd even made one. I don't think Dad was that good with stuff like that, but we did have a family lawyer who would be able to shed light on the issue. It turns out we don't have any record of Dad having written a formal legal will, so something called an intestacy takes over, and the will is a template from our state. It works out pretty well for us, though, as the estate transfers to me, and I can always give money to the people I knew my dad cared for. I don't know how, but my mom found out about this and called me again, asking me to reconsider sharing some amount of the inheritance with her and her family. The amount I'm getting is quite huge, as we lived a very comfortable life, and Dad's property transfers to me too. So honestly, giving some cash to Mom won't put much of a dent in my prospects. But I still refused on the matter of principle, and because of how badly she treated me and Dad. AITA for not letting her have some of the inheritance? Update 1. After I declined to give Mom anything, her real side came out, and she told me that I was going to end up regretting this. Then, a few weeks after that, I got a summons to court where my mom was contesting the distribution of Dad's assets because he had created a will during their time together. The reason it wasn't with us now was that they had it made in another state, and I guess Dad never mentioned it to any of us. Due to that, everything's topsy-turvy, and I'm at risk of losing my inheritance. The old will is apparently in the hands of the divorce lawyer my mom used, and to be honest, the whole thing seems a little suspicious. Our family lawyer has promised that he'll get to the bottom of this, though. Let's see what happens, I guess. I don't know whether Dad had written a will when I was younger or before I was born, and to be honest, I don't know the law too well. I'm writing all of this while still trying to deal with my father's passing, and this court case is the last thing I need. Update 2. So the first hearing to contest my inheritance happened yesterday, and things don't look good. Dad had written a will where my mom was the primary beneficiary, but my lawyer gave us a little hope by questioning the legitimacy of the will. He sat me down today and told me, "Oh, Pete, I know this is going to sound crazy, but something just doesn't add up. I feel like your mom has forged some part of that old will. I knew your dad well, and I'd be certain if he had gone through the full process of forming a will, getting witnesses, and paying someone to draft it. My best guess is your mom and dad discussed having a will, and your mom is using that knowledge to present a will that is faked. Now, I may not know the law, but even I know that forging a will is a felony. My mom must have been really desperate to try and dupe the court like that. It did make sense, though, because how the frick is the will with my mom's divorce lawyer? Their excuses don't add up, and her lawyer seems to be a really scummy guy to begin with. I'm not sure where we'll find proof, but I hope this mess gets sorted out easily. I kind of have an idea in my head, but I'm not sure how to implement it. I'll keep you guys posted once the result of the hearing comes out. Update 3. The case got settled in my favor, and boy, it's a long story. Things looked like they'd be muddled for months before the case would be settled, but I played things a little dirty. I tracked down the office of the lawyer Mom was using and bribed his secretary to give me all the files he had on our case. This lawyer was sloppy as all hell, and it was easy to get some really incriminating info about the shady stuff Mom had been doing really easily. Most importantly, we got access to the original copy of the will and got it analyzed, and the paper is like from 2 months ago. It's been made to look dated, but it's clearly a fake. Interestingly, we came across a piece of paper with the details of a will in Dad's handwriting, which seemed to be legit, but it was only a few random scribbles that wouldn't hold up in court. It's clear that my parents had gone 50% of the way to making Dad a will, and Mom had that document with her, but it was never made into a proper document. The craziest thing is, my lawyer said that they'd probably have an easier job trying to contest my inheritance by being honest. But the forgery has messed things up for them big time. My mom might be facing jail time, and I'm countersuing for damages, while her lawyer is likely going to lose his license. Good riddance, I say. Bro thought he was Saul Goodman or something. After all this, I can thankfully put this whole thing behind me. I haven't even had time to process everything that's happened due to my mom's intrusion. I've been distant in my relationship and slipped up at work. However, the people around me have been super understanding about what's been going on, and that's helped me feel like at least everything hasn't been derailed. Since everything else in the now standing will is pretty cut and dry, everything should get sorted in a few months. I think we'll sell the house, as it's too painful to live there with all the memories attached to it. And I'll give a chunk of Dad's physical assets to his brother, my uncle, and his mom. We've discussed what to do with the money, and the best thing seems to be to invest it for the future or buy a house for me and my partner. Either way, those things are inconsequential because I'm just happy that my mom couldn't get away with her shitty behavior. If I was almost no contact before, I'm going full no contact now. NTA, but I was super worried for you when the lawsuit came up in your update. When my friend passed away, his ex's father got a part of his inheritance because he was still written down as a secondary benefactor. All of this stuff is really dicey and needs to be kept in order. NTA, but you shouldn't even have let your mom come to the funeral. If she just dumped you without a second thought and still thinks only about her two new kids, it's clear she doesn't care about you. That may be tough to accept, OP, but you need to move on. Next story. I, 36, female, had a child in 2021 who's now 1 year old. When I was pregnant, my friend Michelle, my age, had given me a gorgeous necklace as a present for my pregnancy. She said I could do what I wanted with it. It came in a beautiful little box and ribbon, and I had planned to keep it in the family. Recently, to celebrate my son, Matt, first birthday, my sister flew in from England to help with my baby. My sister is a jeweler as well, conveniently. She does live far, and we often communicate only through text or call, and the COVID situation from 2021 made it even harder to see each other. I never really discussed the necklace with my sister until then, as I always thought it was a cheaper present. Until I put it on when we were going out to dinner. I'd left Matt with a babysitter and we were at the restaurant when my sister asked where I got the necklace from. I was happy she noticed, but told her it was a gift and my sister asked me to look at it. I didn't think much of it until she mentioned it seemed expensive. And after a bit of searching and checking around, we found out it was actually worth a ton. I won't go into specifics, no, not millions or tens of thousands of dollars, but enough for me to make enough for a bit to help support my family or keep it in the family as an expensive necklace. Michelle also found out, most likely from me messaging family and friends, and messaged me back asking for the necklace back. She apparently had been gifted the necklace as well from a relative, but also thought it was cheap, and I replied back that I intended to keep it. Michelle started calling me selfish, saying it was hers first and she never knew the value. Now my husband and sister are saying Michelle shouldn't have given it away, but I know Michelle could use the money, and I think it's true she never knew the value too, or she wouldn't have given it to me. AITA for keeping it? Edit. No, I was not going around bragging to everybody about this necklace. I told my mom, and word gets around our family fast, so everyone was excited since my parents and their parents hadn't grown up in the best situations, and this was a big deal to all of us. How exactly Michelle found out is beyond my knowledge, but it wasn't from me pushing it in her face. ESH. This wasn't something you needed to brag about or whatever caused multiple people to find out about. And friendship should be more important. For your friend, asking for a gift back is just tacky. I'd give it back just so she can take it to a pawn shop or even a jeweler or estate buyer just to get 10% of its worth. If you guys don't even know how to tell if it was worth anything, then you certainly will get killed selling it. You have one person and some Googling telling you it is worth something. A pro or someone on Facebook Marketplace are not giving you somewhere near its value. NTA, she gifted it to you. In essence, she transferred ownership. If you give away or sell an item without knowing its value, it doesn't undo the sale if you find out it's worth more. I wouldn't call her an AH for asking if you would give it back. I'm calling her an AH for regifting something she thought had no value, then blaming you for her own actions. Next story. I, 18, female, am the only daughter in a family of 4 boys, 15, 13, 10, 8. Our dad is pretty much a single parent since he and our mom divorced when the boys were younger, and mom lives out of the country with her husband. It's more or less become my job to be the mother, too, which is fine, I guess. I'm doing college online, so it's not like I wouldn't be home to do stuff anyway. One of my unofficial jobs is to help my dad grocery shop. I used to go with him to do it, and I would make the list myself and just grab what we needed. But now that I drive the boys around for their extracurriculars and I'm busy with school or chores when I'm not helping them, I don't really have the time. I just started writing the list and giving it to my dad so he could go out and get what we needed. Every single time this man has gone to the grocery store by himself, he has either completely forgotten about the list, remembered the list and lost it, remembered the list but ignored it, or somehow could not find more than half of the things on it. It's hard to cook an actual dinner when literally half of what he ends up bringing home is frozen meals and pasta sauce, but no pasta. I brought it up to him, but Dad keeps saying that if I would just make time to go with him or if I went on my own, it would probably be easier to get what we needed. I said that we could switch jobs, so he takes the boy to their things and I get groceries. But he said he doesn't know their schedules and he wouldn't want to mess it up for them. He said he'd go grocery shopping today and asked me to go with him. But I was working on some stuff for my finals before I had to drive the 10-year-old and 8-year-old to their practices, so I couldn't go. I started making the list like I usually do, but because I didn't want to end up with only half of what I'd put on there, I went and printed the layout of the grocery store. I even went online and found which aisle each product was supposed to be in, and I color-coded the stuff he needed to get. I left it for him on the table and then went to take the boys. While I was doing schoolwork during their practice, my dad called me asking why I felt the need to color code a map for him like he was a toddler in need of specific instruction. I replied saying that I only thought the map might make it easier for him to find the things I put on the list since I also made sure that everything was in stock online. It's been hours since we've gotten back home and he's very clearly upset with me, but he did get the stuff on the list this time. I don't know. I think maybe I just made him feel like an idiot and that's why he's upset. Was the map thing a little too much? Edit. I don't really talk to my mom much, so that's why I haven't asked her for help with this or anything. I don't even know what help she could provide since she lives halfway across the world. My brothers do recognize that our dad doesn't really do much other than work and come home. The boys help when they can and they offer to do more. I just usually tell them to focus on doing the few chores I've given them while I handle everything else because it's just what I'm used to now. My 15-year-old brother will be doing most of the driving once he gets his license. He has his permit right now, so I can't just send him out on his own, LOL. Also, all the comments really did put a whole lot into perspective for me. I'm realizing how unfair a lot of this has been on me. And I'm going to try to talk to my dad about it because I do want a social life outside of conversations with the moms on the practice field. NTA, your dad is asking too much of you and he's avoiding his responsibility as the parent. He could and should learn their schedules. He just doesn't want to. You should have a serious talk with him about whether he either steps up or he hires help. NTA, I really don't see what you could have possibly done that's wrong. If he's genuinely forgetting the items, you provided a guide. If he just isn't trying, he brought this response on himself. If it's the former, he may be developing some form of dementia. However, has he always been so forgetful? What sucks about this situation is the position you have been put in. You deserve credit for rising to the challenge, but he is just putting way too much on your shoulders. Did he act this way before the divorce? I ask because it sounds like he's treating you more as a replacement for his wife in domestic homemaking chores than as an individual. He needs to start stepping up and doing more instead of dumping everything but the groceries on you. And he does those half-heartedly and begrudgingly, and leaving it there. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.